Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are still kicking. I just wanted to do an update and a little video behind the scenes, and I figured this would be appropriate because a lot of people have been asking, how you doing, is everything okay? We haven't seen you on YouTube for a while, and things are going great. It's just I'm not able to access the cabin right now because of how much snow we have up there. And I was up there last week and I tried to plow an entranceway into the cabin, and it was just brutal. I think I plowed for about 8 hours straight, and I was able to get back to the cabin, but unfortunately it took a whole day to get to the cabin, so I wasn't able to shoot any video footage. And this week we're due for another snowstorm up there, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to take you behind the scenes and show you what we do for fun and show you what is a big part of our lives here in my home. And behind me, I think this is what we're going to base today's video on. My son Shorts just got hold of me and he said, "Dad, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Journal Sentinel Sports Show for Milwaukee is going on right now, and they're having a big buck contest there, and maybe you'd be interested in taking some of your deer down there." I'm not a trophy hunter, but I have been blessed to hunt in a place that has good genetics, and so I think I'm going to take you along. I'm going to be respectful of the other hunters. I'm not going to take any video footage at the event, other than if we're lucky enough to place or take any type of award or anything for the deer that we have. But out of respect for other people, I'm not sure what I have to worry about liability wise. I'm not going to get many people on video. I'm just going to basically keep this about me and the deer that I have. And behind me you can see this is probably a buck that's got the best memories behind it. It's the last deer I was able to take archery before I got Lyme disease, and archery has been my biggest passion, and that's probably why this deer means the most to me. And then I think what we'll do is, after we take him to the competition, we will come down into the bunker where I do my video editing, and I'll show you some of the animals that I have down here. I've got everything from some bigger fish. I've got a bear that I've got mounted on the wall down here, and then obviously a bunch of whitetail. So, all right, let's head over to the park and we'll see how this deer does.
Second place, archery typical, 10 point and above, is Carl with 151 and 3/8. Is that correct, Carl? And then we've got archery typical, 10 point.
Overall, there were a lot of great animals that were entered into this competition. I was fortunate enough to take second place in the archery typical 10 point and above section of the competition. All right, so my collection may not be anything like having a Jordan buck in the background here, but we do have a decent collection that we keep down in the bunker. And hunting in Wisconsin is something that's been passed on through the generations. I'm with Shorty Shorts right now, and he's only 3 right now, but here in Wisconsin, as soon as your kid is legal where he can hold a gun and shoot straight, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get him hooked up with a gun, and we'll start him out pretty soon here with a BB gun. But each one of these mounts has a special story behind it, and we kind of feel the same thing about our tiny little collection in the bunker. So let's go back to the house, and I'll take you through my trophy room, and I'll explain what the animals are that we have there and how we got them. So, all right, ready to go? All right, I am too. All right, guys, so I dropped off my son and grandson at their home, and I figured I'd bring you back here and just share with you some of the mounts that I have here in my studio. And like I said earlier, I'm not really a trophy hunter, but the reason I have most of these animals is just because of different memories that they have. This buck here, it's just a small 10-pointer, but to me it was a giant. It was the first deer that I ever killed, and that's back in the time when we used to hunt with aluminum arrows. And so I was able to, I got him mounted because I was actually, when I bought my first bow, I was entered into an archery competition as a bonus for buying that bow. And this buck here actually won me, I think it was $300 and a ladder tree stand off of his weight. He weighed in field dressed at 187 pounds. And at that time, because he was my first archery buck, I thought he was just a monster. And I was very pleased to have him. If we cruise on over to here, I know this is a smaller buck, even smaller yet, but this was actually my first rifle buck that I ever took. I can't remember if I was like 12 or 13 years old, but back in those days I thought this is a monster, and I got him mounted because obvious reasons, it's the first deer that I have ever taken. And then obviously we talked about this guy already. I was thrilled because he ended up being just a real good conversation piece. He's got all these kicker points and everything that are going on. You kind of look, this buck here and this buck here, genetics ran really deep in their area. This here is actually the great-grandfather to this buck. And if you notice the similarities where he has a split brow tine here and a taller tine here, when you look on this other buck, his great-grandson, he's got the same split brow tine with a really tall tine here. And so this deer, I'm pretty interested in seeing what he'd score. I think next year I'm going to take him there and just get him scored, because I think for archery he may make the book. I'm guessing he'd probably be, because he only has the deduction here, he's probably going to be like a 120s, maybe a 130 if I'm really lucky buck. And this buck here, I won a trip to Canada black bear hunting, and that's why I got him mounted. And I also won, I think it was $900 cash for heaviest weight that year. This deer field dressed at 207 pounds. And then are
you gonna tell him why you didn't go on that black bear hunt though?
Oh, I did not go on this black bear hunt because it happened to be on it was a spring hunt, and it's when I ended up falling in love and marrying my beautiful bride.
It was the weekend of our wedding.
Yep. So unfortunately I never did get to go on that black bear hunt, but I really won because I ended up with my beautiful bride. So, and then this buck here, I know he's kind of got a trashy rack. He broke off points here, 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 there, and I thought somewhere else. But this buck weighed in at 217 pounds field dressed. He was a really good sized buck, and I won off of him, I think it was $300, a climber tree stand, an antelope hunt in Wyoming, and there was one other thing, but I forget what it was. And then one thing I did neglect to mention to you is the buck that we just took in to the competition. That buck was just a monster. He weighed in field dressed at 234 pounds. So by far he was the heaviest deer that I've ever got. So that's going to be it for my whitetail. I do have a black bear that I harvested. He was a real ornery son of a gun. I can show you him. And then I've got some fish that we got out of our lake, and those had sentimental value to them as well. All right, and then on this side of the basement, this bear I have mixed emotions about. He serves now as a reminder to me to make sure you do your homework and get a good taxidermist and leave him with a ton of pictures. The way that the guy mounted him, the bear has a real tiny head now, a real tiny face, and he does not look anything like when I shot him. And I have some doubts that this is even the bear that I shot. The bear that I shot had a white diamond in his chest, and he had a real fat, blocky head. And this one has more of a narrow snout to him. Looks more like a female than it does a bear, a boar. And I love the mount. It's a good mount, but it's not my bear. And so it just serves as a reminder. Make sure that you really stay on top of your taxidermist and know what you're getting. And that's about that for that. And then, I got a ton of these skull mounts. A lot of them are spread throughout the house and in different areas. We got a bunch that are up north. I took this buck because it has a cross on the brow tine there, and so we kind of nicknamed this little guy as the Pope. And then, of course, many of you may not know this, but both my sons were very accomplished athletes. Both were great hockey players, and the guy on the picture over there was just a beast. That was my son, Nick the Animal Steel, and he played both sides of the football back in his days when he played football, and just was a really accomplished athlete. And my daughter as well, Sophie, I think she got her varsity in, was it 4 or 5 sports? Do you remember, Margaret?
I think it was only 3, but she would probably be really mad at me if I didn't know this number.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know she got her varsity in a lot more sports than the boys did.
Hockey, yeah, it was 3. Hockey, softball, and track.
Okay. But, so this is going to be it for my fur-bearing animals. Let's go over to this wall, and I'll show you a couple of things that I got from the water that bring back some great memories as well. You know, I know camera doesn't do this stuff justice. For you folks down south, you're going to laugh at this bass. That was a 4-pound bass that I caught. I know down south that's a small bass, but up here in the north where they don't have much time to grow, that's actually a pretty decent sized bass. And when we first got our property up at the lake, that was the first halfway decent sized fish that I had ever caught. The bluegill in front of them that this northern is chasing down, that fish actually there is huge for a bluegill. That came within 1/8 of an inch of beating our state record for bluegill. And then this northern pike that we have here, that pike was 42 inches. I caught that with my buddy Don. You've seen Don from time to time on some of my videos. It was a really exciting story. We were out on the lake, and it was a day that it was a really cold fall day. The wind was kind of kicking, and the fish just weren't biting. And I really wanted to set Don up on some trophy pike, and we went out there, put our time in, and I felt so disgusted because that lake is usually a real good producer of fish, and nothing was happening. And then finally at the end of the day, Don and I were able to catch this fish. We double teamed it. I hooked it and brought it in, and Don did a heck of a job netting it. Our concern was the fish was too big for the net that we had, and Don's a really a quite accomplished sportsman. He knew exactly what to do. He went real deep in the net to get the fish in there, and the net still only came to about here, and the fish was ready to kick off and to spit out the lure. And sure enough, I saw him spit the lure, and his head was tangled in the front of the net, and Don was doing his best to dig in deep. I literally went and grabbed the tail of the fish, and when I grabbed the tail, that fish took off and shot in even deeper in the net. Both Don and I fell backwards, and we just laughed our heads off as we were able to finally boat that fish. And then lastly, this is just a good example of your typical walleye. My uncle actually caught that when we were fishing together in Canada, and that fish will go with me to the grave because that is the one thing that I have after my uncle passed to remember him by. And every time I see that fish, I think about the sweet times that we spent together as a family. All right, so I just had Margaret come up here with this picture, and I think this is probably the most prized trophy that I have within this room.
It's a good one.
Yeah, do you want to tell them about it, or should I?
I can tell them.
All right.
So it was super cold, below zero, and there was an ice fishing jamboree that we had planned to go to. Regardless of the weather, we thought we're still going to go. We told the kids we were going to go. It was cold. We bundled them up, all 4 of them, and we went out ice fishing. And there was a reporter there from the local, like the community newspaper. And he came over and was like, why are you out here with your kids? It is so cold out. And Carl gave a little interview about, how it's worth it. And it's so much better to be out doing stuff with your kids rather than, being stuck at home. And Wisconsin, winters are long, and you got to find something to do that's fun and exciting, especially when you have kids. But unfortunately, our oldest daughter, she was on Palms, and she had a basketball game to get to, so her and I missed this great photo op. But it's fun because the article says that Matthew pulled on the
tip up
and got Northern?
Yeah, I think it was a 23-inch Northern.
And everybody backed up, and Sophie said, ew. Sophie was only 2 at the time, and it tugs at our heartstrings because this time went so fast, and we're so glad that we did all kinds of different things with our kids as they were growing up. Because now Matthew, he is a father of 2, and Sophie's married, and she's expecting.
Yeah, so we just let the cat out of the bag. We're going to be grandparents of 3 now.
Yeah, she's expecting. Her and her husband are expecting in early September. And Nicholas is waiting it out. So is Jessica, our oldest. They're like, not yet. So, but yeah, it's just amazing that time goes so fast, and you need to enjoy it while you can.
Would you agree that I think the glue that held our family together was in between us supporting our children in their sports and things that they love to do, and a combination of the outdoors as well. We spent a lot of time camping, hunting, fishing. Our children in the outdoors became our center of
our family.
Our whole focus, it was on our family.
Yeah, they'll tell you that too. They tell us that all the time. And kind of funny, our son Matthew, he texted the other day and said, "Can we come over for dinner on Sunday?" And of course, they're always welcome to come for dinner. And I said, "Why? Do you miss your mom?" And he was like, "Duh." He texted back, "Duh." And I was like, "Perfect answer. You're gonna get anything you want to eat." But you spend your time when they're little, and they'll come right back when they're older.
And so I think this is what's driven my love and passion for the outdoors, is because I realized it was another avenue to be closest with the ones that I love. And everything that I have in this room has a little bit of meaning behind it, whether I was with friends or extended family or my wife or children. And that's what brings happiness into our life. And so I'd like to challenge you guys. I know this isn't my typical video, but none of my videos I think are real typical.
It's all over the board.
Yeah, but I just want to challenge you, if you haven't got into the outdoors, take the time to do it. It's going to bring nothing but good things into your life.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing. We'll catch you next time on Carl's Off the Grid.